we're going to start the color wheel today, and one of the things you need to know is your paint setup. So you're going to need your water cup. You need about a half a cup of water. You'll be changing this. You do not want to paint with dirty water. You're going to need your palette so that you can mix your colors. I would recommend 2 brushes. A round brush is good for filling in, and then a flat brush. This one's actually a chiseled brush, and that's good for getting the edges. As far as the color wheel is concerned, I'm not worried about staying in the lines, but you do need to mix your colors accurately. You're going to be starting with your primary colors. Make sure that you put your name at the top and put your hour. If you do not have your paints, you're going to need your primary colors. So you're going to need your yellow, and make sure you put your initials on it. You're going to have 2 reds. You're going to have a warm red, and you're going to have a cool red. If you got the red that was on the list, you have the warm red, and you're going to need to get a cool red from me. And then last but not least, your blue or cobalt blue. You need some paper towel because you're going to be drying off your brush. You do not want to paint with a wet brush. So I'm going to start here with the yellow. Acrylic paint does not come out of your clothes, so if you are worried, you need to wear one of the aprons or one of the lab coats. So with this chisel brush, I can easily just put down a stroke of paint. When you're painting, it's best to pull in one direction. If you go back and forth like this, it's like wipe on, wipe off. So you want to usually brush. Now obviously if you're trying to get some areas and touch up, you're going to go back in different directions. Now once we've done our yellow, we want to move to our yellow green. So I'm going to put a pretty good helping of yellow green because it's going to make my yellow green and my green. I'm going to take it and just wipe it off my paper towel. I do not need to rinse it. Yellow green means that it is mostly yellow. So when I'm adding my blue, I just want to add a little bit. So I'm going to put that right there is too much blue. So I'm going to wipe as much off of my blue as possible. When I'm mixing, I want to hydrate it. So I want to put some water in it. So I'm going back to the water. I'm just dipping the brush in the water so that it hydrates it. When we start painting our color schemes, we will also use glazing medium, and that will keep the paint wet longer so that we can blend. So you can see I have a pretty good yellow green right there. Again, I'm taking the brush and I'm almost, it's like pancakes. I'm tapping it on both sides so that I get it mixed well. I'm going to wipe the excess off of that, and I'm going to go ahead and now I can paint my yellow green. Remember that yellow is a transparent color, so when you want the color to be more solid or more opaque, the word is opaque, then you have to mix it with more. So you can see I'm turning my paper to kind of help me get to where I need to. So there's my yellow green. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to wipe the brush off. And now I'm going to add some more blue to my mixture. So I'm going to put some more blue in here. Again, I'm going to hydrate it. So I'm using a little bit of water. You'll notice that I'm not mixing in a lot of different spots. I'm just mixing in one area. So your plate should last you through the whole entire first ring, which is your Hues. Okay, so I have my green mix. Now, if you're not sure if you have the right color, hold it next to the color you just painted and check, compare what the colors look like. Again, if you go outside the lines a little bit, that's not what I'm worried about. What I'm concerned about is your color mixing. So here's my green. Now, blue-green means that it has mostly blue. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the green and I'm going to put it over here into the blue. Blue-green is a turquoise. So even when I did that, I still don't have enough blue. So I'm going to wipe this brush off. I'm going to take a little bit more blue. I'm going to put it into my mixture. I'm going to hydrate my brush. So remember, hydrating means that we are just dipping it into the water to keep the paint activated so that it won't dry. So notice I'm putting more blue. So blue-green is mostly blue. And see, I still don't have it. So you'll notice, if you want to think about it in percentages, it's probably about 90% or 85% blue, and then the rest is yellow. Okay, now you can see that I have my turquoise. I want to make sure that my paint is mixed well, so I'm flipping the brush. Do not stab the brush down like this, that ruins the brush. If when you're painting, the paint's not flowing, it probably means that you need to hydrate it a little bit, or it means that you haven't mixed enough paint. You shouldn't get dry marks. Dry marks means that the paint is too dry. So I'm flipping the brush so that I can get that edge there. Alright, so in review, I started with yellow. I painted it directly on there. I added a little bit of blue to make my yellow green. I added a little bit more blue to make my green. Blue-green or turquoise is mostly blue. So I started with the blue here and started adding the green to it. Now that I'm starting a new family of colors, I need to clean out my brush. I need to get new water, because I do not want green water, and I need to get set up to paint the next ring. Okay, so now I'm ready to paint my next blue, blue-violet, violet, and red-violet. So this is my next set of colors that I can paint. Obviously, I'm going to paint my blue first. I've cleaned my brush, I've dried my brush, and I have clean water. I do not want to paint with water that has green in it. The paints, when they're kept in the paint cups, they will last up to 2 weeks. So you don't need to fill it up all the way. If for some reason your paint dries, then just fill it up. If you have a 2-inch bottle, always shake it up before you use it. If you run out of something, then just fill up your bottle with mine. Alright, so I have the blue. Now I want to do blue-violet. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take and put some blue on the palette. I'm going to wipe the excess off the brush. I'm going to take my cool red. So this is where it's really important. This is going to give you some really strong violets. And so that's what you want to use. Your warm red is for your warm side. Your cool red is for your violets. So blue-violet means that it's mostly blue. Now you have the plate that you can actually test the colors out on, so you can kind of see what it looks like. Again, another easy way to do it, make sure you hydrate the color, is to take your and put it next to it and see. So I think it needs just a little bit more of the cool red, so I'm going to wipe off the brush. And I'm going to hydrate and test my color. So that looks pretty good. So this is my blue violet. Now remember that your dark colors on the color wheel are more opaque. So you need to make sure that you mix plenty of paint to paint the areas. Alright, so that's my blue violet. Now, obviously, I'm going this way towards red, which is my primary color, so that means I need to put more red in this mixture. Now, one of the reasons I'm not rinsing my brush each time is because I don't want to paint with a really wet brush. I want to paint with a fairly dry brush, and I just want to hydrate the paint as I'm mixing it. Okay, so when I put the big brush in there, it had quite a bit of blue left in it, so I'm going to put a little bit more of the cool red in there. Sometimes you don't mix the color right the first time. You may need to add more color, or you may get too much red and you need to add some blue back into it. Alright, so I can see my violet. Again, there's nothing wrong with turning your paper or your canvas, whatever it is that you're painting. My paint's a little dry, so I'm going to hydrate it, put just a little bit of water on the brush, work it in, because you should be able to pull a smooth stroke. You don't want to be tapping it, you want to pull strokes. Tapping would be for like texture on an animal's fur or something like that. The other thing is when these dry, they dry a little bit lighter, so you should be able to see the color, but when it dries you should see the color even better. Okay, so here I am to my red violet. So this is very similar to the blue green. I know that I need more red in that combination. So I'm going to take a bigger amount of red, cool red this time. And again, you should be able to see the change. Remember when we were using colored pencils, it was magenta, but this is red violet. So I'm going to go ahead and paint the red violet. Again, it's drying a little bit, so I'm going to hydrate it. And once I finish painting this, I'll have to do the same thing. I'll have to clean my water, clean my brushes, because then I will be ready for warm. So you can see there I've got some really nice violets going on. When you're cleaning your brush, don't stab your brush, swish it. You can see I'm kind of tapping it on the side to get some of that paint out. I want to try to get as much paint out of the brush just using the water cup before I take it back and clean it at the sink. So again, don't smash your brush. If your bristles are apart like this, then that means that the person before you smashed the brush, and the only way I've found to get them to go back is by boiling them. So it's time for cleanup, and I'll be back. Alright, so one thing that I don't know if I talked about it or not, but I'm right-handed. So if I'm right-handed, I want my water on the right because I don't want to knock it into my painting. If I'm left-handed, I want my water and my palette to my left side because I am left-handed and that is my strength side. So we're ready for the last. Remember that these are hues. Hues are any names of a color, and these are pure hues. So with my primary colors, my red, yellow, and blue, it's a triad, I am able to mix all the other colors. I am including a cool red because I've found with experience that your violets are not as strong if they are done with a warm red. So I'm starting with my warm red. You can tell the difference if you look at them. You can almost see that this one looks like a little bit more orange, and this one has a little bit more violet shade to it. So that's one way to tell the difference. So if I'm making a pink flower, this is the one I want to use, the cool red. If I'm making an orange coral like under the sea, this would be the one that I'd want to use. So I've washed both my brushes, I've dried them, I've got clean water. I'm ready to go to finish up on the first ring. So again, brush in one direction. You're going to get a lot of practice, so you want to get used to not having brush strokes, and the way you don't have brush strokes is by not going back and forth. Now, if I were just priming a canvas, it may not be as important, but right now I'm trying to show you proper brush strokes. Alright, so here I am on red orange. So you can see on my palette that this was my green, my blue green, my violets. So I have plenty of room now to make my red orange. Again, I'm going to take out probably a dime's worth of the red, and then I'm going to wipe the brush. I know that with red orange it's not going to take a whole lot of yellow, but it is going to take some yellow to change. A lot of people, when they're mixing red orange, put too much yellow and they get closer to orange instead of red orange. So you really want to make sure that you take the brush and you test it to see if you can see a change. So I can't see enough of a change, so I'm going to wipe my brush off. And at any time, if you need to go use the sink and wash your hands, wash your hands. You're going to get paint on your hands, but it's very easy to clean your hands, so don't worry about that. Okay, so I can see the difference now. So I'm going to paint the red orange here. Okay, so I think I'm going to push it a little bit further. So this is good because this shows you that you can paint over an area. So I'm just going to paint right on top of this with my new color. Yeah, that's better, so that you can see the difference. Now, remember what I said, yellow is a transparent color. So sometimes to see the change, instead of putting more yellow here, I'm going to actually add the yellow to the side. I'm going to add the yellow here, and I know that just in my brush still, there's a lot of orange. So you want to make sure that you have a good orange. Hydrate it. I forgot to do that on the last one. That may be why I had trouble with the painting of it. Alright, so it's about that time, it's about Halloween time, so you should know what your orange looks like. Again, if it's not painting easily, it may mean that you need more paint on the brush, or it may mean you need some water. If we didn't clean the water out each time, our colors, instead of being pure, would look dirty. Alright, so I'm going to pull that off again. I'm going to take some yellow, quite a bit. I'm going to put it into this. So yellow orange is mostly yellow. And see, I'm having trouble because my paint is starting to dry out a little bit. Alright, so I've finished the outside ring. That is pure Hues. When this dries, I want you to go back in and I want you to write the colors in the Sharpie so that you know what colors these are. And you can abbreviate them, because sometimes they're hard to see. And then that way you're going to have a good resource. This is going to be your lights. So this is we're going to start with white, and then we're going to add each color. So this will be the second ring, this will be our tints, and I will start that shortly.